Most gardeners either dump wood ash straight onto their soil or avoid it completely because they're afraid of, messing up the pH. Both approaches are wrong, and honestly both cost you growth. Raw wood ash thrown onto beds in spring can spike pH too fast, lock out micronutrients, and stall seedlings. Avoiding it entirely means you're ignoring one of the most concentrated free mineral sources most gardeners literally sweep out of their stove. The real power move is fermenting it first. If you're serious about growing food and not just playing around with raised beds, subscribe now. On Farm Logic, we test things in real gardens, not just in theory. This fermented wood ash method is something I've used in backyard beds, container systems, and, even adapted carefully in hydro setups where mineral balance actually matters. Fermenting wood ash changes how it behaves in the soil. Raw wood ash is highly alkaline. Depending on the source, it can have a pH between 9 and 13. It's loaded with potassium, calcium carbonate, trace phosphorus, magnesium, and, a bunch of micronutrients. That sounds great until you realize that dumping it directly around plants can shock the root zone. When you ferment it, you're not magically removing the alkalinity, but you are buffering it and unlocking minerals in a more plant-available form. What I do is mix 1 part fine, sifted hardwood ash with 5 parts non-chlorinated water in a food-grade bucket. Stir it thoroughly and let it sit loosely covered for 5 to 7 days. Stir it once a day. What happens during that week is microbial activity starts to work on soluble minerals. The water becomes a mineral extract. The heavier carbon particles settle. The liquid at the top becomes what I call a controlled mineral tea. After a week, I strain it through cloth and dilute that extract again before applying it. For soil-grown crops, I dilute 1 part fermented ash liquid to 10 parts water. That final dilution is what goes on to beds. Here's what this actually does in a real garden. In my raised beds, especially for fruiting crops like tomatoes and peppers, potassium is usually the first limiting factor by mid-season. Compost alone rarely supplies enough potassium for heavy fruiting. When I started applying fermented wood ash extract at first flowering, I saw thicker stems, stronger flower retention, and noticeably improved fruit sizing. Not overnight. Not some ridiculous 48-hour transformation, but within 2 weeks, the difference in vigor was visible. Potassium drives water regulation, enzyme activation, and fruit development. Calcium from the ash supports cell wall strength. That combination is powerful when applied correctly. You have to respect your soil pH before you even think about doing this. If your soil is already above 7.2, you need to slow down. Fermented ash still carries alkalinity. In slightly acidic soils, say 6.0 to 6.5, this works beautifully because you're nudging the pH into optimal nutrient uptake range. In already alkaline soils, overuse will create iron and manganese deficiencies. I test my soil at least once a season, and honestly, when I'm brewing compost or mineral extracts, I monitor temperature as well. Microbial activity really does change with heat. A simple instant read thermometer like the ThermoPro TP620 works well for quick checks in compost piles or liquid brews. It's technically marketed for cooking, but temperature is temperature, right? When I'm fermenting ash or building hot compost, I want to know if I'm sitting at 25 degrees Celsius or 45 degrees because that changes microbial behavior. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. It's not required, but tools that give accurate readings honestly make you a better grower. Back to application. In a standard 4x8 raised bed, I apply about 2 to 3 litres of the diluted fermented ash solution evenly across the surface, then water it in deeply. I don't pour it directly at the base of a single plant. I treat it as a broad mineral supplement. I do this once at early flowering and again about 3 weeks later for heavy feeders. For leafy greens, I either skip it or use a weaker dilution, closer to 1 to 15, because excess potassium can reduce magnesium uptake and affect leaf quality. This is where most online advice fails. People say wood ash is good for the garden. But you know, that's not really advice. That's just a slogan. Dosage and timing matter. Now, let's talk about containers and smaller backyard setups. In a 20-litre container growing peppers, I'll use about 200 milliliters of diluted fermented ash solution once at bud formation, and honestly, that's it. Containers are confined systems, so minerals accumulate faster. If you push too hard, you'll notice leaf edge burn or even nutrient imbalance. In hydroponics, this gets even more delicate. I do not dump fermented ash directly into a recirculating hydro reservoir. That's just reckless. Instead, if I'm experimenting, I'll use a tiny amount of the strained liquid as part of a mineral supplement in a separate test bucket, and I make sure to monitor EC and pH really carefully. Most hydro growers are better off sticking with balanced nutrient salts, but, understanding what ash contains really teaches you why potassium and calcium ratios matter so much. One thing I noticed after repeated seasonal use in soil beds is improved stem rigidity and reduced blossom end rot in tomatoes. Blossom end rot is usually blamed on calcium deficiency, but honestly, it's often a calcium transport problem tied to inconsistent watering and imbalanced potassium. The fermented ash provides soluble calcium, but you still have to water consistently. Minerals don't fix bad irrigation habits. Let's address the crazy fast growth claim realistically. This isn't a magic potion. What it does is remove a mineral bottleneck. When potassium or calcium is limiting, growth slows. When you correct that deficiency at the right stage, plants respond aggressively. So new growth comes in thicker. You'll also notice that the internodes tighten slightly. Flower drop reduces as well. That, right there, is what people interpret as explosive growth. The biggest mistake, honestly, is using ash from treated or painted wood. Never, and I really mean never, use ash from construction scraps, plywood, or charcoal briquettes. Only clean hardwood ash from untreated wood should be used. Softwood ash does work, but hardwood typically contains a higher mineral density. And don't apply this weekly. I've actually tested overuse myself. By the third application in one season, soil pH crept up enough that spinach showed iron chlorosis. You'll see yellow leaves with green veins. That's your warning sign you've gone too far. Long term, I rotate this practice. One season I'll use fermented ash for fruiting beds. The next season I'll rely more heavily on composted manure and targeted organic blends. Soil balance is dynamic. You don't hammer it with one input every year. Another benefit that doesn't get talked about enough is fungal balance. Slightly higher potassium levels can improve plant resilience against certain foliar diseases because cell walls are stronger. It's not a fungicide, it's structural support. If you're growing in slightly acidic soils, this trick can actually replace store-bought potash supplements. It's essentially recycling minerals from burned biomass right back into your food system. That's closed-loop gardening at its best. The key is controlled fermentation, proper dilution, and honestly, strategic timing. If your plants are already dark green and thriving, don't fix what isn't broken. But If you consistently struggle with weak stems, poor fruit sizing, or blossom drop, even when you're using good compost practices, mineral imbalance is probably part of the equation. Fermented wood ash, applied intelligently, corrects that imbalance without shocking your soil. This is really the kind of technique that separates gardeners who experiment carefully from those who just follow blanket advice. Measure your soil, observe your plants, adjust intentionally. If this helped you rethink how you use wood ash in your system, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and share this with another serious grower. Better food doesn't come from secrets, it comes from understanding what you're actually feeding your soil and, well, why.